Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's up?
It was a big, exciting weekend on the Warhams. If you wanted to get up earlier, I suppose stay up late, like Wyatt might have.
Yeah, man, I was just like taking one for the team. I had to watch. I mean, I had to be the journalist and stay up so I could watch it.
Oh, I woke up at 3 a.m. watch it, and I worked until 9 a.m. Saturday morning.
God. Didn't even tell me. Could have watched it together.
I mean, watching is one thing, but like watching it and screen capping it, listening to what they say, taking notes, it's not as enjoyable as you would think.
Still hurts.
I'm sorry, Wyatt. I did not know you're going to be having a view party.
You did have a view party.
Yeah, I guess so. Dang.
Him and Jesse. Is anybody else there?
Probably some
Greg.
cats.
Yeah, well, the cats and Greg.
That's nice. Sounds like fun. We had last week we had a weird episode.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, dude.
I got vanished. I'll just catch everyone up. Dog went to the emergency room because she had gum. Turns out it was fine. Nothing bad happened. Brought her home. Missed the podcast. And then listened to what the guys talked about as much as I could stand. Cut some tails. Smacked it back together. Put it out as a podcast.
It was mostly okay-ish.
Just freeformed it. It was all right.
I mean, it was like other people's podcasts.
Yeah, well, we're back to our golden standard.
I'm mostly semi-pro. I'm semi-pro.
We didn't even do a Would You Rather last time, so I got one saved up.
Oh, we got
a good one. All right, well, let's roll out
Hopefully
to Wyatt's Game of Wonders and touch nothing
enough.
but the lamp, son.
Let's see. Well, we can cut this out if my memory is wrong. But would you rather wake up every morning with a light cold or stop at every single red light ever when you're driving or walking?
This one isn't fair either.
Well, that's the game.
Yeah.
No, I mean, every morning I wake up with a light cold. It takes me it takes me like 2 hours to like reboot my whole system.
You have like a post nasal drip thing. That's not a cold. We're talking like a light fever, sneezing, general body aches. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But light. Not like, you'll get over it.
By when? Like by the second it's not morning anymore? Like 11 or 59?
Yeah.
Turns
Like 11. Yeah.
Sneezes, sniffles, light fever, general achiness till noon. Oh, no, it's got to be a minimum amount of hours, right? Because you can't game it by waking up at noon.
Yeah.
So on average, if people wake up at 9 or 8,
2.5 to 3 hours.
2.5 to 3 hours of a cold, or always hit every red light.
Yes.
This is easy for me.
Hitting every red light would suck so bad in my town.
Oh, geez, for real.
Damn. But I also don't want to have a fucking cold every day. That sucks too.
Yeah, this is my morning regimen right here.
God, you old.
My God.
Oh my God, dude! If
Yo,
anyone at home, you can't see this if you just listen to this on your hopefully
I have a
free drive to work.
Tupperware size shoebox of supplements I take every morning.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Actually, I don't take this. This is that BC powder. That's for when it really gets bad.
You don't need that every morning if you take the cold thing.
Nah. But yeah, somebody had COVID and they told me about this vegan omega-3 gels They're like, yo, that really helps my brain fog. I was like, yo, I feel like I got some brain fog. I'm going to take some of that too.
Glad that you learned about omega-3. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick cold, even though I hate it. I just don't think I could stand fucking wasting that. Like, it's guaranteed minutes of my life removed from my life pool.
Yeah, plus it's infuriating and stressful. At least you kind of just shoulder
I can listen to
on.
audiobooks, that's fine, but it's like, let's just say like good, you're just driving to the store. It's guaranteed to add 1 minute and 35 seconds to my trip.
Yeah.
I forever now lose that amount of time every time I drive for my life. You know what I mean? Like, and that's collectively over every time I drive. I can't do it. I'm going to have to just, because even though I have a light cold every morning for 2.5, 3 hours, and I'm not going to feel great, at least like, you know, I could take a warm shower, try to make myself feel a little better, or I can like just maybe get a cup of coffee or tea and sit in front of the computer and watch Netflix. And like, you know, maybe I can even go walk the dog, man. Who knows? I could do something.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think I would definitely pick that. I mean, red lights are just infuriating. You're impotent. You're just sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, and who knows what that would do to my psyche. Like I might deteriorate back in old Miami road rage mentality.
I had some lady get out of the car on me the other day.
There are people point guns at me, try to run me off the road. Like everything you can think of in Miami. Like it was like just this crazy vortex of just like, there must have been like a hate demon affected us all on the 836 bypass.
Nope. That's stressful.
I'll take a cold.
Yeah, I'm down with the cold too, bro. Even when it's nice out, even when it's cold out. I'll take a light cold. I'll do a shot of light cold.
That's right. So today we have, this is our post Warhammer Fest podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's
starters.
Obviously going to be the theme of this podcast, and that'll be the table of contents. So we'll just kick it over to Lizard News or Mantis News or T-Rex Who Murders People News. I don't fucking know what it's called anymore.
Why are you bringing up old shit?
Fantasy T-Rex murder spree.
Yeah.
I would too. I would T-Rex murder the shit out of at least 10 people that I've already pre-planned.
My God.
Well, that's all right though. Fortunately for me,
remember that movie Tusk that Kevin Smith made?
Which one?
Unfortunately,
he makes the dude into a walrus.
Yeah. I saw that in theaters.
Like, it's crazy.
Not happy about
movie.
it. It's so bad.
But like, that's not what I'm thinking. It's like, so Rob as a T-Rex Tusk style. Think about
this
that.
Gets made into a disgusting man Rex thing.
Yep. But he does it to himself on purpose. Anyway, back to you, Rob. Just let everyone think about that for a minute.
That's quite the visual. So we got some pricing on the Leviathan box set, using a little detective work, doing the G-Dub arbitrage. We know they said it was 150 Great Britain pounds in their little newsletter giveaway terms and conditions. If you convert that in GW money, which is a different conversion than normal conversions, you get $230 US. Shockingly, I think it was 450 Australian.
Ugh.
That's
Australia.
Yeah, that's sorry. I'm pulling one out for the folks down under. That seems like a lot. Going through, checking it all out. Remember, it is going to be ETB. Not sure if there's alternate like heads, styles, or anything like that. Maybe some different sarcophagus for the dreadnoughts. I'm hoping some of the characters have helmets instead of, the bear heads, but that lieutenant looks pretty dope. Going through and doing the, rough values, you're looking at like $890 probably in value. And remember, a lot of those kits will probably be the separate standalone kit, like we saw with the Necron Warriors and the Outrider bikes. And then, down the road, GW will put out versions of the starter set. There'll be like 3 different versions. One will come with a soft cover rule book. One won't come with a rule book. And then at some point in a year or two, they'll come out with the sprue, and it'll be $160 for the sprue, like they did with the Necron. What was it? Whatever. And Honored of the Chapter, I think it came with like the Eradicators, the Shield Guard, and some of the characters on it. And that was just one sprue out of the whole box. So in GW money, if you're even interested in either of those factions, it's probably a good pickup.
I'd say it's a really good deal because, if we're talking a 250 to 300 retail price, split it with your buddy down the middle, 150. If you were to take the equivalent of everything in that Space Marine box, or the Space Marine half of that box, it's like over $400.
Yeah.
Just to get like 20 intercessor bodies, 5 Terminators, 5 veterans, 3 characters, and a Redemptor Dreadnought. It's like over $400, and you're getting it for $150. That's a steal.
Yeah, those poses still. Even the Indominus dudes, they all stand up. Like you put them all next to each other, multiple boxes worth. You gotta have to splash in at least one of the multi-part kits that they come out with, but they stand up and they're great detail. And I personally prefer push fit with a little bit of work. You can snip the posts off, snip the holes off, whatever gets it to work for you. But it's going to be good value. I could see where some people might, hey, I don't play Tyranids. Hey, I'm not interested in Marines. I just want the rules. Well, the cool thing about all that is, as we already know, there'll be free rules downloads for your codex books. There'll also be the data cards available to purchase for the first time. And they're not doing the index thing. They're not doing, hey, here's your Xenos book. Like, no, if you play Tau, you just get the Tau rules.
It's cool because you don't have to split it, right? You can just you and your buddy can just both buy one and then trade the halves you don't use and double your value.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if
that's what I'm doing, but it's going to be good.
Yeah. It's not $250. It's $230. Like you can do the same exercise. Like, here's how you do it. You just go to Forge Rules website.
Seems weird though. Don't they usually make it like an even, like 100 or 50? Like, no. Has any of the other boxes been $230?
All of the battle forces are now $230 after the price hike.
Okay. It just seems like weird, like a weird number for something like that. I think it would be $250 even.
Indominus was $199. That's a weird number.
Oh, I thought it was just $200.
No, it was. They said it would be less than $200, and it was $199.
Yeah, I remember that. It was less than $200. Okay. And we said that in the podcast. $199. Got
it. My memory's off then, I guess. $230, even better. Fantastic.
Yeah. So, no, we don't know what the data card packs are going to be, but they're probably worth picking up. The Sigmar ones, they'll probably be very similar to the Sigmar ones. I'm hoping, because they already kind of showed some of them are going to have fronts and backs, like the Land Raider card. And I think one of the Marine ones was really big. Oh no, the Legionnaires today for Chaos definitely is double-sided. So, you're probably looking at $30-$35, but here's the thing. Unless they sell really well, they're probably not going to do another run of those card packs. So if you're even thinking,
they said that they're going to get updated when the codexes come out, like new cards for the codex.
Right. But dude, $30-$35 to, even though, you might be getting your codex, in winter or whatever, because they already put out the roadmap. It's not a bad pickup, just so you got those game aids in front of you, because you're already going to be flipping through your rule book. You might as well at least have your rules for your faction right in front of you. At least that's how I feel about it.
I don't care enough about saving money.
Yeah, just print them out.
I get it.
Yeah. The only ones I won't buy is the generic Space Marine ones, just because that's the first codex. So
yeah,
I'll wait 3 weeks and then get the new ones anyways.
So either way, it's going to be a really exciting time, and there's going to be ways to get the rule book separately out there if you don't care about either of those factions or those models in there. Hey, there's also going to be the free core rules download. So either way, there's something for everybody, even if you don't have to pick up the box right then and there. There'll be the faction packs. The rule book might come out separately, but I feel like at that point, why not just scoop it up off somebody's secondhand? Because there's going to be a lot of people with extra rule books out there if they're buying multiple boxes. So there's a little bit, a little bit of worth of hustle you can do out there to make some hobby profit. Let's talk about some other stuff here. So this is more on the not necessarily miniature side of things. So a weird thing happened this week. And I know a lot of people probably have, kids out there and they're buying Pokemon cards for them, or, they still have Pokemon cards because why not? It's been like 30 years, right? So Japan, they actually sold out of the two new expansions. They do it a little different over there. Like, they'll come out with two separate expansions. And then when it comes to America here, they put them all in the same set and it's only one expansion set. So they did a weird thing and they put a checklist in with the set. They're like, hey, here's all the other products that you can actually purchase. And I guess it worked because they sold out of like everything in their warehouse in Japan, like all the Pokemon cards. And it's so bad that some stores are actually banning adults from buying Pokemon cards. Like you got to be in junior high or younger to buy Pokemon cards there. And you can't just like get them anywhere. Like you got to go to your local store to get these things. So it's like wild over there right now. And we say that, but during the pandemic, people were taking those air tags and putting them on the trucks that they thought were bringing the Pokemon cards and stuff to Walmarts and tracking when, the truck actually came back to their town. So they knew that there was Pokemon cards there and they could buy them. So
all I can think of is like some kids where a grown man is like, hey, can you buy me some Pokemon cards?
Like the inversion.
They're like, only if you buy me some booze.
Yeah. I imagine you only got to be like 18 over there
That's funny.
Maybe.
I actually don't know.
I think it's 20 because like the government 20? Doesn't consider you like an adult until you're 20. There's like a big ceremony thing
or cigarettes, like swap for cigarettes. Either way, there's going to be some weird interactions happening. I just thought that was pretty funny because wait till that stuff comes here because they're actually redoing the original 151 card set in Japan very soon. So when that comes over here, that's gonna get all the feels, I feel like. A couple of other products that are definitely worth talking about. Gamers Graphs came out with two new lines of miniature bases, pre-painted bases, Alien Infestation and Spaceship Corridor, which both look pretty good. They're already done, ready to go. Got the tufts on them. All you got to do is glue your minis to them. So
sick.
Definitely check those out because they haven't put out like new lines in a while. They've been upgrading all their stuff. I think a lot of their bases they've switched to COcast, which is great because it's a base and it's really cool. It's good material. I've seen people make bases with them. Sorry, I just got a notification. Something's happening out in the yard. I don't know where my phone is.
Oh, what's happening in the yard?
Are the deer back?
I'm about to say it's obviously his deer cam.
The deer assaulting your compound.
My phone can't be that far away.
By assaulted his compound, grazing on your grass, like passive as hell.
Yeah,
they do.
The deer wage a passive aggressive war.
I actually don't know where my phone is. That's really weird. Thought it was here. Anyways, so Gamers Graphs, check those out over on their website. Wizards of the Coast put out their Q1 earnings, and Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, of course. So their sales are up overall, but their profits like way down. Some lines just like broke even or lost money, which was kind of wild. Not entirely unexpected because, as we all know, costs have gone up. It's harder to source and find things, and inflation's definitely a thing these days, although a little bit more stable than it was a year ago, I suppose. So just kind of keep that in mind. I'll save that one for last. So Shatterpoint, Star Wars Shatterpoint comes out in about 1 month, give or take, next month in June. They just previewed a new expansion pack, the Jedi Hunters, which is, the Inquisitors from the Kenobi series. If you missed that, go check them out. No spoilers. You're going to see who they are. So that set looks pretty dope. They also previewed today on May the 4th, that there would be the first dual pack for Shatterpoints called You Cannot Run, and it features Vader versus Obi-Wan when they were I guess I don't know if anybody hasn't seen Kenobi.
Is that on pre-order?
Yeah, it is on pre-order. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm going to the website right fucking now.
It's over on shop.asmodee.com.
I need it.
But yeah, so that looks pretty interesting for sure. No spoilers, obviously. Vader and Obi-Wan fight in the Obi-Wan series, but it's just showcasing one of the battles or one of their interactions, I suppose. The Paint Pot Challenge is back to community news. So Morose Minis is doing it again this year, and that's basically, you might have seen them last year where they took a Citadel paint pot, added some arms and shit, made a whole bunch of different ones, and they're just hilarious. They were really cool to see. They're doing it again this year, and there's actually prizes involved in things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a Games Workshop Citadel paint pot either. So go check them out. There's some rules and guidelines and deadlines, things over there just to be aware of. But so far, the stuff looks pretty fun. It's just something different to do, and we all got some empty paint pots laying around. I'm sure, like, why not find some bits and paint them up and have some fun? Definitely here for that one. And last but not least, circle back to some G-Dub stuff. There are some allocations this week if you're looking to get that new Gallo Fall Kill Team box with the squats and the Beastmen. They are allocated to 4 per store, which I don't know if that's going to really affect anybody, but just be aware it might be a little bit harder to find. Might not be. I don't know. If your store was having a problem bringing in Kill Team, they'll probably get their one and maybe you'll pick it up, but I don't super think it's going to affect anybody. Hopefully there's still a lot of single releases out there, like from the Lion to all the stuff that came in the Agastus box. A whole lot of separate releases still aren't out yet. So I don't know whether they're slow rolling them for 10th or going to put them out at the same time as 10th, or who knows, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Don't really know for sure, but yeah. So this week's releases obviously are the Gallifo box for $185, and then the Arbites box, I think it's called Exaction Squad. Those are $60. There's some dice and stuff and a couple of books. All the Adeptus Titanicus cards are special order off their site for $20 to $30. And the terrain, Killzone Upgrade Soul Shackle terrain is $60. But that's all going to be web special order only from Games Workshop themselves. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have a hard time finding the Kill Team box, you could probably find it on eBay for people that are splitting them up, that are actually able to get hold of them, I suppose. And that's pretty much it. So it is May the 4th. Happy May the 4th to everybody.
Oh yeah, May the 4th be with you. I started watching the new Star Wars Visions earlier. Halfway through the episodes.
I didn't know it came out. Cool.
They're really cool. There was a funny one. The same studio that made Wallace and Gromit made one. It's kind of silly. It was fun.
That would be interesting. I always like their different takes on things with the Visions,
I knew you couldn't go this whole podcast without saying that shit.
What?
I was waiting for the right time.
May the 4th. Whatever.
I mean, it's no Star Trek Day, but what can we do?
Yeah.
Isn't that what May the 4th is?
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right. Fucking nerds.
Thanks for making it awkward.
Yeah, for real. Look, we get it. You like Star Trek. It's cool. We do too.
Look, man, I don't want no scrubs. Okay. Yeah, TLC reference.
Was that Star Trek? Were they in Star Trek?
Yeah, they literally wrote the opening song for Star Trek.
Oh, dang! I didn't realize. I hope they got royalties for that, because that might have been a thing.
Catapulted their career. Little known trivia fact. So we got the rules censored part of our broadcast now. Wyatt's prepared us a spotlight sheet based on everything that's happened since the last time we streamed, and Warhammer Fest has occurred, and we even got people who had boots on the ground telling us things and stuff. So we got things to go over. So what you got for us, Wyatt?
Yeah, so much new stuff. They previewed the new ways to set up missions in the new edition with some of these mission cards that have different things like your deployment type, primary, secondary, and a new mechanic called gambits, which are divisive to say the least. Some really interesting things. A lot of people are kind of like, I like it or I don't like it. I think they're cool. It reminds me a lot of Tempest of War, which is a really popular way to play casual 40K, get some nice pickup games on Friday night. They do state in the article that most likely if you're playing the GT book at a tournament, a lot of these things are going to be set like the same way that we do things now. It's just a different format. We'll get used to it.
Yeah, they have like they have what is called like the set secondary, the tactical secondary, which is like, the flip a card. And then they also go on to say like, also these could be fixed potentially at an event. So
yeah, that seems smarter because you don't want everybody to be sitting there flipping at the event, you know?
Yeah. We've done that. We've played Warhammer 40K since the 90s, right? And so we've played every type of mission structure when it comes to the random shit from the book that you roll deployment zones. We did that for years, right? Rolling off the deployment zones at GTs. We've done asymmetrical missions where you had like 3 different objectives. We've done it where like, maybe you're playing a kill point mission and that's such a disadvantage to you that you can't win, period. So why even play those armies, right? So we've done it all. And the game is centered on asymmetrical mission design. That's what we've been doing. And so the cards almost aren't cards if you don't want to be, right?
Yeah.
It's just a visual component to make it fun and easy. And they've even said that you might not even, they might just be fixed. If they're fixed, they're just on a piece of paper.
Yeah. I predict that most organized events are going to have fixed missions, fixed deployments per mission, that kind of thing. And I don't think the gambits are going to make their way into the GT book.
Probably
because it's just too random. It's too it kind of reeks of those old like Maelstrom cards where it's like, oh, just put an HQ in somebody's deployment zone and you win the game. Like that's real feels bads and kind of invalidates the whole game. So I don't think the gambits are going to make it. But as a idea for like how to set up games of 40K, I think this is a great idea. The attacker and the defender having different secondaries in the same mission is really cool. Really cool. So it makes like if you're attacking, different play style, different mission type. If you're defending, there's pros and cons to both of those. It's really cool.
It's so smart, Wyatt, because like how many times have we played this game in a different edition when it's like, oh, it's an Alpha Strike. It's Alpha Strike 40K all over again. And then it's like, then they have to do something to change it. And then it's like, oh, it's Beta Strike 40K all over again. And, then they have to change like how you score so that the person who goes last doesn't have the advantage. Like, you know what I mean? Like literally it's a turn-based game. So there's always an issue when you're both playing the same thing, same primary or same secondary, something that you both are going for at the same time. But one of you guys goes second or one of you guys goes first. There's always an imbalance. So by changing one simple mechanic to the attacker has this primary and the defender would have this primary, it's a game changer. I think that's so smart.
Yeah, so this should be really cool. No word on whether or not we're going to see faction secondaries again. That in and of itself was kind of divisive for the entirety of this past edition. So not quite sure yet, but as a core set of rules,
out of this edition if they want.
Yeah. So if they bring him back, like hopefully they learn some lessons. If they decide to not bring him back, then fine, whatever. We also got a bunch of stuff coming out of Warhammer Fest because they were running some demo games. That being said, these demo games were kind of like what you would get if you went into a Warhammer store and was like, teach me how to play 40K.
So not like that in depth.
Yeah, there's lots of like paraphrasing. There's lots of leaving stuff out. There's, skipping of certain things, just straight up not using some rules to make it really easy for people to grasp the concept of how this tabletop game plays. But there was some things we could pick out, such as Overwatch. So it still exists. It's still a stratagem for 1 CP, but it's not contained to your opponent's charge phase. An example given was if an enemy unit ends its move within range of you, you might be able to play Overwatch, that kind of thing.
Very cool.
Objective markers. We got one little tidbit of information. It seems like they're the same size, that kind of thing. One of the things that we speculated about was with tanks and such having OC values, then the size of models becomes an advantage or disadvantage. Well, it turns out that when you're controlling an objective marker, no part of a model can be over top or on top of.
But how's it work? It like
marker.
Can't end its move on top of the objective?
Yeah, no model can end its move covering any part of the objective marker.
So like if we're calling it the 40 millimeter chip
that's what they are. So
that you measure off of, you can't end your move on top of that chip.
Right.
Meaning you can't block the objective out.
Right. So you can still control a majority of the sort of like zone.
Yeah, you can block it out pretty effectively with like 20 guys, but like a single vehicle can't just park on it like a Beyblade and block it out.
So like that vehicle could hold maybe like a half or so of that control zone
because it can't cross the plane of the center.
Yeah, you're right. So depending on the shape of the model and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So you still have your OC value. Your vehicles still have value to you for controlling objectives. It's just you can't park your Tesseract vault on top of an objective and be like, well, you'll never touch it. So
it's cool that they already knew that we were going to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure that was like the first thing that somebody tried to do. Engagement range is a little bit different. Who can fight is a little bit different. So engagement range is base to base, and models that can fight have to be within base to base of that front rank. So base to base to base.
Base to base within models that are engagement range, which are also base to base.
Right. So this was heavily paraphrased. So I'm not entirely sure if there is going to be any type of buffer zone like the Phantom half an inch or whatever. But we did see with the terrain rules, there are certain types of terrains that will extend engagement range. And we
that
also
doesn't happen.
Right. We also don't know if like fighting through walls is a thing like it used to be. So we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer before we get more terrain rules to figure exactly how models are going to interact in all those different ways. One little cool thing about consolidating in the fight phase is that you have an option now without needing like an extra special rule. So you can either consolidate towards an objective or towards the closest enemy model.
I love that. I love both those things you just said because they
but you have to. There's a caveat. So like you have to be on the objective. You can't just like move to one that's like a foot away.
Puts you in control.
Yeah. You have to go onto it.
It's smart because they're cleaning up the fight phase on distances. So there's so the whole like stringing things out and trying to manipulate. Because what we're doing always is we're using the fight phase and the charge phase and the consolidation, all the pylons. We're using that to exploit movement mechanics, which is why it's always been a more complicated part of the game. And in 8th and 9th edition, they actually give us a lot more freedom than they had in the past, where it was like you make a charge, straight lines only, closest to closest. There was all these like weird rules to make it really hard to do that. And then we started figuring out ways around it with multi-charges. So they've given us a lot of freedom, and they've kind of figured out like what most of us use that freedom for. We use it to get closer to things and blow by them and get like 3 extra 10 inches, or we use it to tri-tip models, or we use it to get to objectives when we otherwise couldn't. And so they're like, okay, how about this? You fucking got to touch motherfuckers to hit them, and you can move toward that unit or to this objective if you can get on it. Like, we'll just let you have it. Like, that's an exploit in the move mechanics of this, so we'll just make it a rule. I think that's pretty insightful rules making.
Right. It's definitely going to give people some play. It makes it a lot easier to understand, all that good stuff. Talk about the blast rule, and basically it's you'll get 1 additional attack dice per 5 models in the target unit. So the example given is if you're firing at a 30 model unit with a blast weapon that fires D6 shots, you get D6 plus 6.
So instead of just capping it at 6, you can actually exceed it.
Yeah, there's still a little bit of randomness to it as well. And then going right into our faction focus stuff, we got 3 so far. I think they said the Necrons was tomorrow, right?
I believe so, yes.
Right. Space Marines up first, obviously. Some interesting things like Terminators, Centurions, and Gravis armor guys are going up in toughness. We've already seen the Terminators at T5, so I'm going to imagine T5, T6 for Centurions. That'll be kind of cool. They show off the Gladius Task Force detachment rule, which is combat doctrine. So we know what combat doctrines are. They're a little bit changed in this because we're updating editions, and the Gladius Task Force is going to be sort of the generic Space Marines detachment. Start of your command phase, you can select one of the combat doctrines listed below. Till the start of your next command phase, that doctrine is active and its effects apply to all Adeptus Astartes units from your army. You can only select each combat doctrine once per battle.
Yeah.
So limiting those, but still pretty cool to be able to pick whenever you want to, which is nice. The Devastator doctrine is a unit is eligible to shoot in a turn in which it advanced. Tactical doctrine is this unit is eligible to shoot and charge in a turn in which it fell back. And the assault doctrine is advance and charge.
That's really neat. And so you can only do each one once. They're all pretty good, and they give you the whole kind of gambit of feelings, right? Like a Blood Angel and a Space Wolf, right? They're all about getting in there, right? You got one. So other people are the shooty guys. You got one, and some people are the tactically flexible guys. You got one. I think that's really neat, and I think it's really cleaned it up. And they're all innately pretty powerful.
Right. But you only get them once per turn.
Once per game. Well, yeah, once per battle, whole army wide though, right?
Yeah, right.
You only use them once. So you get 3 doctrines in a 5-turn game. Makes sense because some of these are pretty powerful, especially advanced charge. Which
actually I think is interesting, why? Because as we move into getting, potentially chapter rules, there's a way, like if they use this detachment, right? Like you said, this is the generic Space Marine detachment. If there's like a Blood Angels detachment, for example, it might have a caveat to how many times you can use X thing, or maybe there's a stratagem that lets you play a doctrine you've already played.
Right.
So that way you can
alternatively,
like Blood Angels.
Alternatively, those chapters do not get doctrines. Like that might just be
they might not get doctrines.
That might be like the Codex Space Marine by the book way of doing war, and those chapters that have a little bit more divergence to them may not even use those.
Yeah,
same
it
rules.
Seems like they're going to use detachments though, mostly as their method for creating flavor in these concepts.
Be pretty cool. Looking forward to it. That means a lot of things are going to change. So like, what is the White Scars going to do? Because that was their rule, was advance and charge. What are the Red Corsairs going to do? Because that was their rule. Yeah. So, lots of different things can happen.
It's kind of wild because they have said multiple times that they want it to be less about what color your Marines are, for example. And which I think we mentioned this earlier, it's like a 180-degree stance from where they've been before. Where right?
They were very much like, if you're painted like Ultramarines, you're running
like they're like straight up at GW stores. They're like in every like Citadels, everything. They're like, if it's Red Marines, they're fucking Blood Angels. There's no exceptions. Like they were pretty seriously the opposite of this in the past. So I think that marks a new beginning for this kind of idea where you can just play models in your collection and not have it be confusing, because it was confusing before if you had some yellow ones and some blue ones and we all had very different rules. What if we don't really have, if you're just playing a Gladius Task Force, for example, I'm playing Gladius Task Force, there's literally no confusion.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what color your shit is, and it doesn't matter. None of it matters. So I think that's interesting. I think that's a really clever way to move forward. And I do like those doctrines.
They show up the Land Raider. Pretty excited about the venerable Land Raider kind of making its comeback. Movement 10, toughness 12,
Base.
2 up armor save, 16 wounds, and OC 5. Nice.
That's about what we thought, right?
It's new weapons. And here's something. So we were talking about the vehicles back when that preview came out. We're like, where's the transport capacity? He's got to be like,
they photoshopped it out.
They didn't put all the information on the card. Well, there's a front and a back. We're idiots. So
we're starting to realize there's backs on some of these cards.
Right. There's probably a back to every card.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, some of them fold out, like the Sigmar ones. They're like a centerfold.
It could be like a little booklet or, double-sided. Yeah. We don't know. But yeah, so Land Raider, they show off the new weapons, and on the back of the card is where they're like, oh, here's the options, the composition, and how many guys can get into it. Probably the biggest thing, which they already mentioned, was the assault ramp. So, you can move the Land Raider and the guys can get out and then charge. That's the way God intended.
Land Raider push.
Nice. They also show off a new weapon, the God Hammer las cannon.
Oh, I'm so into that.
Strength 12 -3, D6 +1 damage. So it's going to be firing for those bad boys a turn. It does get a hunter killer missile. Same kind of weapon options. You can swap out for a multi-melta, that sort of thing. And this is promising. Like, as we've seen, you having these like main battle tank type vehicles that are tough for once. And the only way you're going to be able to deal with them is to have anti-vehicle on some type of weapon, or like a weapon that we would generally think of as an anti-tank weapon, rather than, a little infantry portable pew-pew gun that just kills your guys. Right.
So what we talked about before was like, how do we make vehicles feel like be hard to interact with like they used to be, but without a stupid vehicle chart and armor values, right?
Jack up that toughness value.
Jack up that but they're clearly using the calculations of the past. Like I've mathed so like Rhino went from toughness 7 to toughness 9, right? Mm-hmm. So toughness 9. If we're going on the old way of like glancing and like penning, like strength 4 can't interact with toughness 9. It's not applicable, and it's 6s on 8, right? And so can't interact with toughness 9. So you need to be strength 5 to glance it on a 6, like a heavy bolter. It's the math is there on all these new toughness values. The Land Raider being 12 is a slight exception just because a missile launcher in the past would have needed a 6 to glance the Land Raider, and here it would need a 5. But the alternative would be the Land Raider would have to be toughness 16, and everything in like 100 killer missiles have to be like strength 16. So like that's like that's the break point, right? It's like the strength 8 to the armor 14 mechanic, but it's still mathematically almost the same as all the old vehicle damage charts. So that's how you do it. You make them as hard to interact with as they were when they were armor value, and you give them wounds and shit.
And you tell people, it's like, if you want to deal with this, use the tools that are meant to be used with it. Right. So like, even if you're in a head-to-head matchup, the only thing that's really doing a whole lot of damage to this thing is the Godhammer las cannons. And even then, it's wounding on 4s.
Things need to be in the strength 12 range now to just 50-50. And that's kind of how Land Raider used to be at fucking an AV 14. At armor 14, a missile launcher, which was a great weapon against everything else, 6. It needed to roll a fucking 6 to glance it. Yeah. A las cannon needed to roll a 5 or 6. So he was that tough, guys. So like,
and there will be weapons to deal with these vehicles, right? And that just adds to the list building strategies and your tactics when you're actually playing the game. Like your big anti-vehicle weapons are not going anywhere. Your rail cannons, that kind of thing. They're still in the game.
Those were 20,
like strength 20. I'm sure they'll do a lot of damage.
And I think they said that wasn't even the highest strength weapon out there.
Probably not. And I mean, we can look farther down this article and we see the main gun on the Repulsor Executioner, the heavy laser destroyer, right? Strength 16, -4, D6 +4 damage. So like, it's going to be hitting that Land Raider and wounding it on 3s. And its minimum damage, if both go through, is 10.
I love it. And I love what they've done now. They've really showed you like what a las cannon is versus a melta, right? Too. So like melta gun, they showed us the melta rifle is strength 9. So it's not that it needs to roll 5s against the Land Raider, which
I mean, multi-meltas are strength 9, at least on the Land Raider.
Yeah. So we know multi-meltas and melta rifles are strength 9. They need to roll 5s, but if they hit that 5, it slices through the armor and it's D6 +2. So it's not the end all be all. Like, cause back in the day, I remember like scouts showing up near a Night Titan when they brought in hull points and we still had armor value. And I remember them just 3 meltas would pop off, all hit, 2d6 armor penetration, all pen, AP 0, roll in the chart, blew it up, go to the next chart, blow it up again, take all its hull points away. So we had the toughness of a vehicle, but no sustainment, and it was really weird RNG mechanic. This is tight.
Feels good.
I'm
feels good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We also got to see at least the front part of Gilliman's data card, and he's a beefy lad. They bumped him up to T9,
which is on track with a monster who had toughness 6 before. Right. So we're going into that. He's armor value 11 territory, like kind of similar math. And we're seeing that kind of like trending.
Yeah.
He's got 10 wounds. And he has a 4 on the OC value. So he can kind of, hold more objectives because he's like a bigger guy.
He's almost a Land Raider.
Right. Hand the Dominion still there. Packs a punch. Emperor's Sword.
Wait, what was this OC value? 4, you said?
4, yeah.
4. I thought it would be higher. Not gonna lie.
I thought it'd be like a 5, but I think 4 is okay. He's going to be like a force multiplier for sure. If you have your squad and Gilliman there, it's good. The Emperor's Sword is around. A little weird that it's 2 damage, but we are seeing a lowering in lethality across the board. It still has devastating wounds, so it can proc mortals, so it kind of makes up for it. The Hand of Dominion is basically a turbo power fist. It makes a lot of sense. One thing that people are talking about is that monsters supposedly can attack with all of their melee weapons in a given fight phase. Not totally confirmed in any official source, but if that's true, Gilliman has 21 attacks, which is pretty spicy. He's also got 3 abilities that you can pick from in each command phase as part of his Author of the Codex kind of special rule. You can add 1 to the objective control characteristic of models within 6 inches.
Oh,
and you can reroll Battle Shock and leadership tests.
That's interesting. So that's our first look at like a objective secure aura, what it looks like.
Right. It is an aura. His other ability is Master of Battle. After you've selected an enemy unit for using the Oath of Moment ability, select a second enemy unit. So at the start of your next command phase, if the first unit selected has been destroyed, each time a friendly Adeptus Astartes model makes an attack that targets that second unit, you get full hit and wound rerolls against it. And then he's got Supreme Strategist. Once per turn, you can target 1 friendly Adeptus Astartes unit within 12 with a stratagem for 0 CP, and can do so even if another unit from your army has already been targeted with that stratagem this phase. So not only can you give out a stratagem for free, but you can use a stratagem twice, which normally can't do.
And we're talking about now we're starting at 0 CP, right? And getting 1 per turn. So this is like a pretty fucking handy ability.
It is. He does have the bodyguard ability, so he can be, protected within 3 inches of 1 or more friendly Adeptus Astartes infantry units. And they tweaked the Armor of Fate, so they brought his invul to a 4, but they made him getting back up a little bit better. So on a 3-up, he gets back and he just has 6 flat wounds instead of having to roll a d6.
I'm almost wondering if this aura, when a friendly Adeptus Astartes unit is within 6, add 1 objective. Does that count itself? Because
I guess it depends on how they define aura abilities in the core rules.
Within, because then he would be 5.
I mean, currently by right now's rules, yes. Like the only reason that sort of went away was because they started using keywords that didn't include characters.
Right.
But he is faction keyword.
So if he's faction keyword, it's him too. He in fact is
so he is a Land Raider.
So, but what's interesting is like the Rights of War or like Warlord trait is a very popular thing that turns people objective secure, right? So this is like, I like that because it's kind of showing you how you might see things like that in the future, which would just be like increase the OC value of 1 for models within range. So it's a models within situation, not a units within. And it's so like these 4 guys are now OC, 3 each. Like that's pretty cool. I think that's a neat way to handle that.
And also, we don't know what the keywords for the epic hero or Primarch are going to be.
So what I'm thinking is everyone with every named character I think is an epic hero.
Right.
Oh, so it's like 1 per non-duplicatable.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
He says, it's 1 non-duplicatable, 1 of each.
Yeah.
So you can still have multiple epic heroes.
Well, maybe because Abaddon didn't have his whole like, and I'm sure Wyatt's going to get to it, but he didn't have his whole like, you can only do 3 wounds per phase thing. So what if they made that part of the epic hero and everybody got it?
I guess the universe is supposed to rule. Like it would be on the
like,
sheet as the universe is supposed to rule, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like maybe Gilliman, the Lion, Gaz, Abaddon. You know, the big silent night. Silent
graphically,
king.
how are they presenting USRs versus keywords that are doing things?
Yeah.
USRs are like next to an entry, so it says like Emperor's Sword brackets devastating wounds.
So that's how they present a USR, whereas
or it'll
like
say
epic
like
heroes down at the bottom.
Yeah, epic heroes is a keyword. So we also saw like within the psychic hood on the librarian, it says like feel no pain as part of that rule, but it wasn't like a keyword in his sheet.
Yeah, so I'd say that's not the case. I'd just say he has lost damage scaling, but also, you know, he's not a monster, so he can join squads.
Could be. Whereas Gilliman is the monster.
And he can join squads, and he has the bodyguard role.
Right.
Yep.
And toughness 9.
He's a beefy boy. So
and he's a Primarch. Abaddon is not.
Right. They show up a stratagem. Only death does duty end. Lets you fight on death if you haven't activated. It's pretty handy. Show off the Tyranids one. Not personally as exciting for me, but there is some cool stuff. So they show off Synapse, gives you an extra dice on battle shock checks if you're within Synapse. That could be helpful. Their army rule is Shadow in the Warp, which is a once per game ability. You pop it in your command phase, and every enemy unit must take a battle shock test.
Brah, that seems good.
Would lead to some wild games. It's definitely one of those real swingy things. So you could have nobody failed one type, or like everybody failed.
Kind of reminds me of the Warp Storm chart back in the day.
Yeah. Oh man!
Like, kind of reminds me, like, let's see what happens. Fucking up won games because of some wacky shit. Like,
yeah, so we'll have to see what happens with that. They show off Gene Stealers.
We also know we don't know a lot about how some units are going to interact with battle shock tests. Like, we know,
right?
Do we know what And They Should Have No Fear does? Or
yeah, we don't yet.
Like, there's probably going to be some protections in there. You know?
Yeah, we'll have to see. So Gene Stealers, they show those guys off. Pretty cool. Still fast, still choppy. They get their reroll wounds of 1. And if their target is on an objective, they reroll all wounds. Pretty neat. They show up the Swarm Lord. He's a pretty beefy boy. T10, 10 wounds, 2 up save. He's got his Synaptic Pulse, Psychic Weapon. It's a torrent weapon, which is interesting. So he's got like a torrent smite, basically. Bone Sabers.
So that means it auto hits, right? So torrent means auto hits.
Yes. Because not all random things like that auto hit. They kind of talked about it, but the torrent is like it auto hits. He generates an extra CP per command phase, which is pretty neat. CP is going to be tighter. He also has a Vect stratagem built into his sheet. So once per battle, you can make an opponent's stratagem extra CP after they've played it the first time. Once per battle, after your opponent uses a stratagem, if this model is your warlord and is on the battlefield, it can use this ability. If it does until the end of the battle, increase the stratagem's cost to your opponent by 1 CP.
So you can make a 0 stratagem cost 1.
Right. If it is base 0. Because are you talking about how like Gilliman makes something 0 CP?
Well, yeah, because it says after the stratagem is played, he made it 0, and then I do my ability, and the 0 goes plus 1.
I don't know if that might require an FAQ, because the rule says you give the stratagem for 0 CP, which is like a specific. Mm-hmm. This is so you could take a 3 CP one. I just made it 0. So if you already did that and it's a 4 CP stratagem, I just made it 0.
No, I think it goes. I think the number is 0, and now it costs 1.
We'll have to see. Like, I think
that's usually how it works.
They've obviously thought of it, and so we'll see what they say about it, because they put both of these out in the same fucking week.
Yeah, we've already seen something that needs an FAQ. Great job, GW. And then, a friendly Tyranid's unit is within 9 inch. That unit is within your army's synapse range. He's got a 4-up infil save.
Tight.
Let's see. They show off a stratagem called Endless Swarm. It's pretty neat. So in your command phase, up to 2 Endless Multitude units from your army that are within Synapse, or 1 other Endless Multitude unit from your army can restore D3+3 destroyed models. So I'm assuming that Endless Multitude is going to be like Gaunts, Miro Gaunts, Gargoyles, stuff like that. Kind of cool. And then today we got Chaos Space Marines. Their new army rule is Dark Pacts. And you get to select an ability when a unit is selected to shoot or fight. You can either take lethal hits or sustained hits 1. Just choose one of those. And then you have to make a leadership check. If the test has failed, you take D3 mortal wounds. And so that's going to be their army-wide thing. So you can
one
either
of them
take
is auto wound on hit rolls of 6.
Yep. And then
one of them
sustained is explosion. Yes.
Which is interesting because it seems like there's a lot of cost associated with it because you might take mortal wounds and shit. But I think the way this edition's shaping up with how hard it's going to be, because no one's really talked about wounding mechanics like strength versus toughness yet, right? Like no one's really out there spilling the beans on like on the hit to wound chart. I haven't seen anyone talking about that yet. So
I'm just kind of assuming it's the same if that's the case.
Yeah. So
I think if it was radically different, people would be talking about that first and foremost.
So if a lot of things are going to 6s to wound now, because they're something that's 9 as a baseline, then like I said, maybe I'm wondering if there's a not applicable range like the old days. Still haven't
possibly.
So
you might need that lethal hits to even do damage.
Lethal hits is a powerful fucking rule in an edition where things are getting a lot tougher to wound. So
right,
pretty fucking good. You have access to lethal hits.
Have we seen anything that has a number next to lethal hits? They previewed. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
Because I'm wondering if they're going to do something for Votann where it's like if something has 1 grudge token, it's lethal hits. If something has 2 tokens, it's lethal hits 5+. Or if it has 3 tokens, it's lethal hits 4+.
Ooh, so that's probably how that's literally how that's exactly how it would be handled.
If they decide to make that the rule. So we'll have to wait and see. They show off the Legionnaires, pretty simple and standard compared to what they used to be. Some of their weapons are different, like the Havoc autocannon is now strength 9, -1, 3 flat damage, shoots 2 shots. And Plasma is basically the same, has the hazardous rule, which is like the plasma rule. Reaper Chain Cannon is basically the same. You can still take a Balefire Tome.
It's crazy. So so like we're talking about huge like strength bombs, like for some like an autocannon, right? Like literally historically strength 7, right? Strength 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wounds a fucking armor value 11 item on a 4. Yep. It's gone up to 9, so it still wounds the new AV 11 on 4s. So it still has the exact same role it used to have, but the plasma did not. The plasma is an inferior has inferior firepower now.
Yeah, well, it's the plasma pistol. So I don't remember off the top of my head if they've shown off a plasma gun or a plasma cannon anywhere.
I don't think so.
Those might be different.
Yeah, so they may have changed because I don't think they've showed us a regular melta gun either, right? They've showed us
They just did. Yeah, right. So they have a melted gun for these guys.
Yeah, the Legionnaires.
The only difference is it's strength 9. They bumped it up 1 strength, and it's melted 2, so it still has the D6+2 if you're within 6 inches.
So yeah, so if it's like how we play it now, then maybe not. But I still think it's kind of interesting because I kind of suspect that the plasma gun is going to stay the same because they actually mentioned that in one of their articles that, you know, of the past of like you make one weapon type the only weapon type, and they reference plasma. And so plasma is not for shooting at tanks. It's like for shooting at tanks in a pinch. Like,
yeah,
so
chip damage.
It's inferior. It's chip damage. Yeah.
Yeah. So something to note about this, because like they're not putting every single bit of information on these cards because it would be so much space it takes up and it might be redundant, but there is some asterisks on there where there's a dual asterisk for certain weapons. And it says this weapon's profile can be found on the Heretic Astartes Armory card. So we're going to have cards of like all the melee weapons and all the range weapons war gear pieces.
Yeah.
Because they only put so many of the range weapons on the actual Legionnaires cards. So things like the las cannon, the missile launcher, and the plasma gun are all going to be on that card. Because it says for every 5 models, one guy can replace his bolt gun with one of these weapons. Let me show off Abaddon, which we were talking about. He is T5 still, which is kind of surprising. He also has the like 3 abilities you can choose from. Seems like that's going to be a pattern. We've already seen that with Angron and his warlord traits, so we can infer that's going to carry over to Magnus Mortarion, probably other like big army leading type characters. One of his auras is friendly Heretic Astartes within 6. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you reroll the hit roll. There's hand out a 4-up invul save to infantry and mounted units within 6 inches. And there is reroll leadership and battle shock tests for units within 6. So that's kind of interesting. So like, I wonder if some new stuff is going to come out for CSM, because before they just used the biker keyword, but now it's the mounted keyword. So I don't know if that's just a flavor choice they're making, or if there's going to be like some new stuff that comes out for them where that keyword is relevant. Also wondering if there's going to be some kind of division.
I think what that means is they're going to get rid of the cavalry keyword.
That could make sense.
So instead of like biker cavalry, these are mounted. Same thing. So I think that's what I feel, at least.
Yeah, could be interesting. Also wondering if things like Possessed are going to see that same weird division. And being able to do things like give Possessed like a 4-up, that could be tight.
Rob's covert message pops up on the fucking Zoom call.
Yeah, I handle your business, dude. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not feeling good. I ate something.
Well, if you gotta go, you gotta go.
We may lose Rob Baer.
Dude.
Did you eat some gum earlier?
It was chewed up. It's okay.
Oh, it's only a little bit. Okay. His last thing is Dark Destiny. And when this model does a Dark Pact and does not fail the leadership check, you roll, and on a 2-up, you get a CP.
That's pretty good.
Yep. Pretty neat. We see a glow up for the Obliterators. Still have 3 profiles to choose from. Focused Malice, which is Melt to 2. It's 24-inch range, D3 attacks, hits on 3s, strength 12 -3, 4 damage. Their middle profile is a little bit better. It's still kind of like the same thing, but their strength has gone up. So it's strength 8 -2, 2 damage. And the Warp Hail, which was their like, super bolters, spewing, also went up in strength. So strength 5 -1, 1 damage.
I like that. Seems incredibly useful.
Yeah, it seems Obliterators are gonna make a comeback, which is cool. Show off a stratagem called Dark Obscuration, and in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, one Heretic Astartes unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. The effect is until the end of your phase, the unit has the stealth ability. In addition, if your unit is a Nurgle unit, until the end of the phase, your unit can only be selected as the target of a range attack if the attacking model is within 12 inches.
That's so cool because that shows off that marks exist. And there's going to be some way to apply them to units. But also something you mentioned earlier is that you have like this list of like marked keywords that you couldn't use unless you had the mark.
Right.
But instead, you have this stratagem that you can use and you get a bonus if you're marked. It's a good fucking bonus. It's like Cloud of Flies.
Right.
Like, and so we don't know what stealth means, I don't think. And maybe someone in the chat knows that it probably +1 cover save or maybe -1 to hit. I don't know.
I haven't seen stealth defined anywhere as of yet. Maybe it came up in those demo games and wasn't talked about. Not sure. Another thing I'm not sure about is this does say that like when you're selected as the target, if you have Nurgle, like you can't be targeted. So that is going to require something like in the core rules or like an FAQ or something. Cause like, unless there's the core rules, it says if your opponent plays a stratagem where you can no longer target a unit, you can select a different unit.
Which they might, because that's been kind of the official FAQ of all stratagems like that.
Right. Yeah. So hopefully they didn't leave that out because that's going to be a weird interaction.
Kara Quinn mentions that stealth used to be minus or +1 to cover, and shrouded was +2 cover.
Right. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's +1 to cover, or maybe you get cover if you don't already have it or something. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a really cool thing that shows that, you know, instead of like only this mark is good because it's the only one that has a good stratagem, like all marks are playable. You know?
Yeah, and there's incentives rather than kind of like requirements, you know.
Especially if we have less CP, less stratagems in general. Seems like you can't just have things that are so locked by. That's why so far it's been like not like infantry bullshit or this bullshit. It's been like, yeah, your whole shit, go nuts. Do whatever you want. So, again, you can do whatever you want, and you get a cool bonus for your Nurgle.
It's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm just guessing that there's going to be more kind of like army level rules than what we've seen so far. And then, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more detachments on launch.
Me too.
Because there are datasheet packs for multiple factions, like Blood Angels, Dark Angels, etc. Not quite sure what's going to happen with Chaos because Chaos is self-contained in one book. World Eaters is separate. Death Guard is separate. So like there is that separation. So, I mean, it's exciting all around. Looking forward to seeing what happens.
Agreed. I mean, I would speculate that a codex, you know, like for Blood Angels Codex, for example, wouldn't bring nearly as much to the lineup as we're used to. The way they're kind of setting this game up. So you know, we can expect maybe a new detachment to add the flavor that Blood Angels should be bringing to the game, and that detachment would have like these restrictions.
Yeah, because I mean, like, so I remember the last time I was involved with Age of Sigmar with the orcs, there were multiple battalions that came out with a single book. Sometimes those were tied to like a subfaction. Sometimes they were tied to a character. So like, I would not be surprised in the least if even in this index, they may not have specialty stuff for chapters, but I would not be surprised if there was different attachments besides the Gladius Strike Force.
Especially if you're willing to give up doctrines too. I think there'll be lots of things.
And then on top of that, we have not seen any detachments for the Tyranids or the CSM. Maybe we'll see one for the Necrons tomorrow. We don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like somewhere between formations, armies of renown, and detachments. Like it's like kind of like how it's starting to shape up. And I think it feels good. You know, it's a good time to get started in the hobby. Somebody in chat recently just added themselves to the chat saying that they're new to the hobby. Somebody responded to them saying, "Welcome to the hobby that's more addicted than anything outside of drugs."
Oh, yeah.
I think we can. We all agree with that. This is an exciting time to be in the game because we're about to start a new edition of the hobby in June, and there's an endless waterfall of cool shit dropping on Warhammer community every day, reminding us how hype we are to collect and paint these models. This is my favorite time. It's my favorite time to fucking be in the hobbies when we're about to start a new edition. It's going to be the Wild West. As I mentioned, anybody who's new to this, you know, go nuts. You can't make a wrong decision right now, in my opinion. But we did lose Rob along the way. He must have had a T-Rex related emergency in his basement.
Yeah, he had a bad person.
Mm-hmm. So
upset his tum-tums.
Do you actually want to take us out, Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, drop's not hard. For all our extra content and videos, head over to thelongwar.net. Become a member of the Long War today.
Damn, Rob makes that seem so hard.
I don't get it.